How does my garden grow? Weedy. Very, very weedy. Here at Non-Toxic Home, we built our homestead in the middle of a 6-acre woods. This means that areas of light are hard to come by, especially full sun. So we have a woods here to the north, and then we've got our house over on one side, and then over there, when the sun's going down to the west, there's some shade. But to the south, it's all trees. Now, a good 6 months a year, it basically rains weeds here. So the way that I garden is I use a lot of mulch. Now, what kind of mulch is best? Well, wood chips, generally, in my opinion. What I have over here is mostly, I can't think of it. It's basically it's not actually wood chips because it doesn't include leaves, but it's just basically shredded trees in essence, and that comes from the sawmill. It's bark mulch. It's just tree bark mulch, and that is amazing stuff. If you can get your hands on it, I highly recommend it. Obviously, wood chips are best, but if you can't get your hands on wood chips, you can use that. I've also used some, let's see, this is hay over here. I don't recommend hay because it typically has weeds, but I've got mulch underneath of it, so I'm not concerned about the weeds. Generally speaking, our garden soil is covered with various types of mulch pretty much all year round. It helps prevent erosion, it helps maintain a good temperature to the soil, etc., etc., etc. Now, I am not the healthiest person in the world. We've got a lot going against me. I drank the Pharmacia Kool-Aid for 30 decades and it nearly killed me, and I'd still be dead if I hadn't woken up from that stupor. Got lots of information on that on our website and in videos. But I don't have a lot of energy to weed. And as you can see, in between our garden beds, there's a lot of weeds. But those weeds are food, my friend. All right, I'm going to walk over here. Not all weeds are food, okay? We've got to be clear here. Now this here I actually planted myself. That's chickweed. Chickweed right there. Chickweed is an edible plant. As you can see, maybe you can see some of the pollinators hanging out there. There's a tiny little pollinator down there. See if I can, yeah, see, look at that little fella. Tiny little pollinator. Right there. They like the chickweed flowers. So as you can see, there are some things that I let go to flower. Chickweed also, you can make it into a salve, and it's great if you get a bug bite, that sort of thing. So I've got chickweed growing here, and that I specifically planted. I bought those seeds on eBay from some random seller. Over here, I've got a mess of some random weeds. I'm not sure what kind of weed it is that has the yellow flowers there. I don't like it. I generally pull it. But over here we've got a whole lot of peppermint. Now I don't recommend planting peppermint in your garden, and I'm sorry there's a chicken yelling in the background. I generally don't recommend planting peppermint in the garden, but I had a moment of stupidity a few years back and I planted it there. Rooster, rooster, shh. The problem with peppermint, of course, is that it spreads. It will take over your garden if you let it. I have allowed it to go to seed, to go to flower this year because of the pollinator issue. Now here we don't have small cell towers, but we do have dirigibles in the air, satellites, and they are irradiating things. I've got all sorts of information about that online. Over here we have lemon balm. Lemon balm is in the mint family, so you plant it and then it spreads and it just grows itself over and over and over, and you cut it repeatedly and it just gives you more and more and more and more and more. No care, absolutely no care. There's another little pollinator over there. Yeah, so I do as much as I can to allow things to flower here. So there's that. Let's see. We've got some squash over there that I just planted this past week, or transplanted is more accurate. I've got random beans here. There's a volunteer tomato plant over there, and then I actually have another volunteer tomato plant right here that I obviously am allowing to grow because I like tomatoes. Actually here, if I can get a good view of it, here we've got a little bit of chicory right here. That planted itself. I did not plant it there. We've got clover a lot here in between. There's also grass and some random weeds that I don't like growing, but you know what, it is what it is. Clover, you can eat the clover itself, you can eat the flowers, you can also eat the roots. Native Americans subsisted partially on clover quite a bit, based on oral tradition. Here we have lady's thumb. This is called lady's thumb. Lady's thumb is edible, it's medicinal, it self-seeds, it's just a weed that is edible, that is also a medicine. So I highly recommend allowing some lady's thumb growing around you. It's also growing in some other areas, like around our potato patch, and I just let it grow. Also, rabbits love it. Now, one thing that you probably see here that you most likely can identify yourself, sorry about the shadows, is plantain. There's actually quite a bit of plantain growing out here, not in my garden bed so much, but in between. And of course, these seeds, when they're harvested commercially, they are then sold as psyllium, or psyllium husks, and that's good for digestion. The plantain leaf itself also is, of course, medicinal and edible. So there's that. I've got a couple of Egyptian walking onions down here still. They did really well for 1 year, and then they just kind of went kaput this year. Not sure what happened with that. I've also got a bunch of lettuce here, butter crunch lettuce, that I've allowed to go to seed. I'm not sure. I might plant my garlic here. I've already harvested my garlic earlier this year. Harvested it early because I planted it early last year. So that's all done. Got some more beans back there. As far as how I start my seeds, I've used a variety of different mediums, but generally what I've found is that these dish pans, I drill some holes in the bottom and the sides, and then I put some whatever kind of soil inside. I've got some lettuce starts going there for fall, because you don't have to stop eating in fall. And then here, well, it's not doing so well now because I step on it all the time. We've got some Russian Tarragon. Russian Tarragon is a perennial, so it'll come back every year, so I don't have to replant it. Here, see this huge stand of these very tall plants? Well, this is Jerusalem artichoke. Jerusalem artichoke is a tuber. It's like potatoes. And you can actually leave it in the ground all winter and dig it up in spring, or you can leave it in the ground all winter and dig it up as the soil is thawed enough to do so. It spreads by itself. It's absolutely no care. It mostly takes care of the weeding itself. You can see that there's, a few random weeds down below, but it mostly shades out below. So that's a wonderful thing. Over here you can see I've got a bunch of squash. This is yellow straight neck squash. Early provider, I think, is something like that. That it's called. As you can see, it's pretty happy. Over here, not so happy because I didn't have the right kind of mulch down. Pine bark or pine shavings are not a good mulch. I have learned. You really need to put a mulch on top of it, otherwise it will absorb the moisture and steal it from the plant. It doesn't work so well. Of course, we've got dandelion here. Dandelion here and there and everywhere. Dandelion flowers are edible, as are dandelions themselves. I always allow dandelion to go to seed. Oh, here we've got huge plantain actually and here's another one, and yet another one in my garden beds. Now, if I need or want that space, then I will pull the plant and eat it. Here we've actually got a little bit of wild lettuce as well. Just one, I think there's just one wild lettuce plant out here right now. In another spot, got a huge wild lettuce plant that went to seed that I harvested the flowers of previously. I already said I pulled my garlic. Got tomatoes here. Some are determinate, some are indeterminate, meaning that some just grow and grow and grow and grow and don't stop growing, whereas others stop growing. I've also got, this year I have, if you can see it there, lemon cucumber. Lemon cucumber. it's just taken over the garden. I've never planted yellow cucumber or lemon cucumber before, but it is amazing. This one plant is just going bonkers with growing everywhere. And as you can see, I've got lots more squash here. I've only got one zucchini plant over there, which I didn't really show you because it's just one zucchini plant. Not that exciting, and oddly enough, it's not that bountiful. But the yellow squash is doing well. I've got more lettuce over here that has gone to seed. I'm allowing it to go to seed so that I can gather the seeds. And I've got some, well, there's a sunflower plant right there. As you can see, I've got more weeds here and there. Here I've got, sorry about the shadows, another dandelion plant. Let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, wild ginger. This wild ginger I allowed, obviously, to be growing here. Wild ginger is so cool. It looks kind of like a heart-shaped ivy, sort of. I think it's a very pretty plant, in my opinion. So wild ginger also, of course, has medicinal value, like so many other things. Got more dandelion, more wild ginger, more lettuce going to seed. I've got I have a variety of beans. Got pole beans that I haven't really trellised, so yeah, not so great about that, but it is what it is. I do what I can, and God covers the rest for me. Trying to get back here to where I can show you one of my favorite weeds, because I think it's just the prettiest thing. Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, it's closed in on itself a bit right now, unfortunately. Here we go. This one here isn't as closed in on itself. Tiny, see those little hearts? It's like clover. It looks like clover, except they're tiny little hearts. Now I just blanked out on what. Oh, wild sorrel, wood sorrel. This is wood sorrel. Now, what you want to do to harvest this, you don't want to pull the whole thing because it has a root. But what you do is you just basically use scissors or whatnot to cut off the top. And there's quite a bit growing down here. Pretty little plant. I just love wood sorrel. And I initially allowed it to grow. Looks like I missed a bean this morning. I've already come out and harvested today. I harvested quite a bit today. There's another weed I don't want growing in here. But the wood sorrel, you just cut off the tops and you leave the root, and you'll get a few harvests every year from it. It'll come back. As long as you leave the root, it will come back. Let's see. I think that's most of the weeds that I have growing in the garden intentionally. As I said, these. I'm not sure what this is. I don't believe it is edible, however, so I don't eat it. Remember that just because something is natural doesn't mean that it's safe. Got more clover growing along here, and transplanted these squash last week as well. Oh, here we go. Got a couple more. We have yarrow here. This is yarrow. I think it looks a lot like pineapple weed. This is yarrow here. It's already flowered this year. It's quite the pretty plant in my opinion. Very unique. Never seen anything like it. And it has a very different taste in my opinion. And then we have some chicory here. Let's see. Chicory here has already gone to seed. Uh-oh. Did I miss the seeds? Oh, they already dropped out. Chicory has a beautiful purplish flower. Well, daggone it. I meant to catch those seeds. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here's a chicory flower right here. Isn't it beautiful? Oh, I just love how chicory looks when it's in flower. This is some chicory down here as well. Chicory is an edible weed as well, and I planted this intentionally, and then it's spread elsewhere over our garden. And lastly, we have some sweet goldenrod here. This is goldenrod. It will have a beautiful large spray of yellow flowers, tiny little yellow flowers, when it goes to seed. And the leaves are medicinal, and the flowers are as well. But I also harvest the leaves themselves and add some to our salads. They're really easy to dehydrate. You don't even have to use a dehydrator. You can just put them somewhere to grow themselves. And then, as you can see over here, we've got chives. Chives, they also are no care. There's some more here growing along here. And as you can see, there's weeds. Oh, there's a tree. I missed that tree. We just have constant seeds, as I mentioned, falling from the sky into the garden. So what works for me in the garden won't work for you, because every location is different. Even someone who lives 15 minutes away from us and is in the middle of a small town, their garden is going to be different than ours. And also, every person has, a limited amount of energy and time, and so you can only do what you can do. And my trellises here aren't ideal, but it's what I had. And so use what you have access to, and just do your best and let the rest be covered. I urge you to check out my video, which I will link to below, with some of my favorite homesteading resources, and be sure that you're subscribed to our channel, because I actually just ordered a couple more foraging books that I think are very promising. And then I also have one that I forgot in that video at the end. So I'll probably, God willing, do another video on foraging, on my favorite foraging resources. Because the fact is that with what is coming from the sky, whether it be non-native EMFs or chemicals, and what is coming from everywhere else, the toxicity of the world is increasing by the minute. And human canaries can confirm this for you. Plants can only take so much. And what I've observed is that the weeds are faring much better than the plants, like beans, etc. Although obviously the beans are doing all right here. They're doing fine here. But we've had lots of strange issues that we've never had before. I don't have my article posted yet with a list, a very extensive list of all of the reasons for the coming famine, which are the things we've seen here between animals and plants. It's crazy. A few weeks ago, I think probably 2 weeks ago, was my first encounter with strangle weed. It's literally called strangle weed. It is a parasitic plant. I didn't even know those things existed. It's also called dodder, D-O-D-D-E-R. And, we've had rust here, and, oh, man, it's just things that I've never seen before. Insects I've never seen before, diseases I've never seen before. And so we're all going to continue to have to fight disease and illness. And as this occurs, it's going to be harder and harder to keep up on a garden, which is why I recommend allowing weeds such as wild ginger and plantain to grow, because you are going to be hungry, and so why not focus on what's most nutrient dense? Seeds you can collect yourself, and they last for years. Don't believe the corporate propaganda. That's just Kool-Aid. We have seeds that have lasted for years. There are seeds that are estimated to be thousands of years old, discovered in ice, that were fruitful. They produced food. So, obviously you want to store seeds in a cool, dark, dry place, as dark and cool as you can make it. But it doesn't have to be perfect. I actually had some seeds that were in very hot plastic totes. They were black plastic totes out in the sun for a few months. And I thought, well, I guess I'll just try planting them because I have them. And they were fine. I'm not suggesting that you do so, but, hang in there. I know times are tough, but, plant weeds, learn about foraging, learn about, no-care gardening methods, and until next time, I hope that you will like this video. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. It's weekly or less, because I do what I can. And Otherwise, non-toxic out. Be gentle with yourself.